Energy signatures. The journey of exploration of our creativity revealed that our mind characterizes the energy we experience into thoughts we have through our creative imagination. In looking at the process of experiencing energy and generating thought, it is clear we live in a sea of energy. There are an innumerable energy experiences that can be had and generate thoughts. The question that can be asked is, why are some energies selected to create the particular thoughts we have, and other energies are not selected? This discussion provides a way of looking at objects and entities such that they possess subtle energy structures that can be accessed for the information that can be provided. In looking at this question, we need to remember the focus of this recording is directed at empowering our creativity and our creative imagination, and uses the creativity perspective. Some of the concepts presented are analogies and serve a pedagogical purpose. One should not assume they are exactly the way creation works, but are effective for our creativity and the exploration of our creativity and of creation. Although these concepts may be used literally and very effectively in some situations, you are encouraged to see them symbolically. Creating a thought is a two-step process. There is an energy we experience and then our mind's interpretation of that energy. Relative to experiencing the energy, two things became evident. One was we are not always aware of the energy we sense that gives rise to our thought. The second thing is, for any energy we sense giving rise to a thought, the energy is much more than a single energy like a single frequency, but more of a spectrum of energies, and this takes us to the concept of energy signatures. Observation revealed one of the biggest conceptual mistakes made by many without realization of it is to refer to a vibration or frequency when in actuality it's about a spectrum of frequencies. For example, to say, "I need to raise my vibration" is technically incorrect. The word vibration is about a single frequency or energy. What is not realized is the word vibration implies a single frequency, and that is what our mind hears, which in turn creatively limits us. The word vibration limits us, for it does not open us to the multidimensional aspect of what is occurring or what needs to occur. What should be said is, I need to expand my freedom of movement or raise my energy level. The word energy level offers a multidimensional aspect the word vibration does not. As was discussed in the discussion, back to basics, the mud, the stuff of creation, viewed from the creativity perspective, everything within physical creation is seen as requiring or running on energy. Without a flow of energy, there is no animation and nothing happens. Everything we experience, no matter what it is, arises from a flow of energy. Without the movement a flow of energy provides, there is nothing to observe. All physical creation is composed of energy. Under the correct conditions, it has been observed energy can be converted to mass and mass converted to energy. In essence, we are like fish existing in a sea of energy. Thoughts can be perceived as little packets of energy, analogously like photons are a package of electromagnetic energy. However, unlike photons arising from a single frequency of energy, thoughts can be multidimensional. When we experience a thought, it is energy, and any thought can act as a catalyst to initiate an action backed by the will to act. Energy is about movement and flow. We sense that flow, that movement, in some way at some level of our being. If there is no flow or movement, then there is nothing to sense. As a human being, we normally perceive ourselves sensing through our five senses: seeing, smelling, feeling, hearing, and tasting. All of these involve an interaction with energy in some way. With any of the five senses, the energy goes through a sensor like a taste bud, the retina of the eye, the olfactory sensor neurons of smell, the vibrating eardrum, and the sensing somatosensory neurons of the skin. In each of these cases, the energy experienced in one of the five senses is converted in some way to a signal, which is a flow of energy to be processed and interpreted by the brain. The energy giving rise to the signal is characterized by the mind's creative imagination into a thought as to what it is experiencing. In situations where one of our five senses perceives the energy, mind is aware of the energy and the apparent source of energy giving rise to the thought. But there is also a sixth way of sensing, and often we are unaware that we are using this sixth sense. The sixth sense is about sensing the energy that lies beyond the five senses, and the energy does not go through the normal body sensor of one of the five senses. Traditionally, this way of sensing has been associated with psychic and intuitive type abilities, but this sixth sense actually gives rise to all the energy-related aspects to our being reported in the wide range of phenomena that can be seen as energetic interactions. The phenomena include such experiences as seeing the future, remote viewing, channeling, spirit guides, conversation with individuals who passed, near-death experiences, past life experiences, experiences in other realities, ancestral healing, energy healing, spontaneous healing, and the mind-body connection and other similar experiences where the individual's perception seems to transcend what we could call the understanding of the traditional mind. The ability we possess that gives rise to these phenomena has not been really understood. In part, this is the result of the fact that there is an aspect of energy and awareness that our current understanding about energy and awareness does not fully appear to adequately describe. These inadequacies are related to how the sixth sense itself operates. Unfortunately, our analogies and similes and the like about energy and awareness do not adequately describe or address these inadequacies at this time. One example of this is an inadequacy of seeing energy as a wave. Although extremely effective in many applications, there appears to be an anomaly in the wave concept that the wave concept does not adequately address. The anomaly or inadequacy is that waves are seen to arise from a single vibration. To talk about expanding our awareness and to say it's about raising our vibration fails to acknowledge the multidimensional aspect of our awareness. To move from one vibration or frequency to another is a single-dimensional change moving up a scale or a ladder. So too, talking about raising or lowering our vibration, we are really referring to expanding or contracting our awareness is inaccurate. Another item not adequately addressed is the power in the focus and intent of our awareness to sense and perceive energy within our being that lies outside the five senses. This other way of sensing, this sixth sense, is intimately tied to our creativity and our creative imagination and understanding how our mindset and belief structure gives rise to the thoughts we have. Relative to this sixth sense, whether the energy we sense is non-localized energy or the energy we sense from the localized energy in a particle, we perceive that energy in the same way. We need to remember, as discussed in the topic Creativity Perspective on Localized and Non-Localized Energy, the wave nature of localized energy in the form of a particle extends out to infinity just as a non-localized energy. So the analogy we use to understand our interaction with energy to create thoughts is to see the energy as a wave which permeates the expanse of creation. As discussed in the topic Energy Conversion to Thoughts, Creating Something Out of Nothing, Pair Production, Particles, Thoughts, and Duality, our mind creates a resonant-like cavity by what we think and believe, determining what energy we sense resonates within us to give rise to a particular thought. As was said, thoughts are multidimensional, and we don't know which aspect of the energy we sense is captured by us and converted into thoughts. This then brings us to look at how the energy we sense is multidimensional and what aspect or part of the multidimensional energy we sense. To get a feel for the multidimensional aspects of an object, it is suggested that one consider the thought of a chair. If we are asked to describe a chair, what comes into our minds are its attributes. We can talk about its height, depth, length, whether it's wood, metal, or plastic, whether it has a padded seat, and may have other unique attributes about the chair. Here, only 5 aspects of the chair are mentioned. Each of these aspects can be seen to have or represent a different energy. This may not make sense at first glance, but if you painted each of those parts a different color, there would be 5 different colors, each a different energy impinging on our eye. In essence, the chair can be seen as one object with a mass or composed of all of the individual components, each with their own unique energy, such that the energy of the chair is a composite of all the individual energies. In essence, the chair has a unique energy signature. It is the unique energy signature between the parts which allows us to see the differences between chairs. Now, one thing that needs to be understood when we talk about energy localized in a particle is the drawing that is typically used is that of a single wave which peaks where it's localized. In reality, any object is a composite of multiple energies. For any particle, we can calculate a single wavelength and frequency for the particle using the de Broglie equation, but what comprises the particle is not a single frequency of energy. Rather, the particle has an energy signature or a unique spectrum or group of energies. It is here we wish to talk about the energy signature or the energy spectrum or group of energies for objects. The music analogy of energy signatures. To understand the concept of the energy signature, we can look at the note of middle C on the piano. The pure sound of middle C is 261.63 Hertz or cycles per second. It is a monochromatic single wavelength and frequency and sounds like a single tone. However, if one plays middle C on the piano, the sound goes well beyond a single tone. If we analyze middle C of the piano, it will be a spectrum of energy frequencies that add and subtract to give the piano its characteristic sound. The sound of the piano is not a pure sine wave. Rather, it has a sinusoidal oscillation, but it's not a pure sine wave as a result of other frequencies being added and subtracted to the 261.63 frequency. If we play the same note on the clarinet or trumpet or any other instrument, we will get the 261.63 Hertz frequency of middle C, but we will also get all the other frequencies that give us the characteristic sound of the clarinet, trumpet, or any other instrument to which we listen. In essence, each note on any particular instrument has an energy signature. The energy signature is the collection of the frequencies of energy that make up the particular sound we are hearing. If we wish to get technical, we can look at how we would need to analyze a particular note. It is realized that unless you are an acoustical engineer or an acoustical physicist, what is stated in the next few sentences may seem like a foreign language. But this short description is provided here to try and give an appreciation of how complex something as seemingly simple as a single note played on an instrument is. There are several approaches used to analyzing the frequency, pitch, and tones contained in the sound produced by musical instruments. There is a classical method called Fourier analysis. Fourier analysis identifies the fundamental and overtone frequencies of individual notes. Spectrogram analysis is the second method, which uses analysis which analyzes changes in the fundamental and overtones over time as several notes are played. The spectrogram gives a view of how the energy density changes simultaneously in time and frequency. A third that can be used is a scaleogram. Scaleograms produce a far more detailed time and frequency description. It allows one to zoom in on selected regions or aspects of the time and frequency distribution. All three of these techniques can be used in analyzing the music on any instrument. The point here is that the sound of a note, as simple as it appears to be on hearing, is quite complex, and we need to step past our normal perception to understand it. Now, if we look at the chord on the piano, which contains three different notes, and look at the same chord played on a harpsichord or organ, we will have the characteristics of the chord, but yet differs than that of the piano. Similarly, if we have three different instruments, each playing one of the notes in the chord, each of the individual notes on whatever instrument is played has a unique energy signature. Here again, the energy signature of the chord is a composite of the individual energy signatures of each of the notes and of each of the instruments on which the note is played, and it needs to be noted that the chord on the piano will have a different energy signature than the chord on a harpsichord or organ, and different from three instruments which played the chord together. Now, if we put together an ensemble, a small band or orchestra, the energy signature of each of these groups successively gets more and more complex. Any given note played on the ensemble, band, or orchestra is the composite of the note played by each of the individual instruments in the group. However, we hear the sum total of all the component energy signatures. So what we have is the complex energy signature of each of the instruments adding to an overall energy signature of the ensemble, band, or orchestra. Hearing the sound of each note added together is common to everyone as to how we hear music. However, in looking at the frequencies of each of the notes and the instruments that produce those sounds is somewhat never thought about. Yet, it is the composite energy of all these instruments we are hearing to give us the experience of music. When we hear a note, we are not hearing a single frequency. Rather, we are hearing an energy signature, which is a composite of different frequencies. In a similar way, at any given moment, we are experiencing the sum total of all the energy signatures of all that is in our environment to give us the experience of life in any given moment. Out of all the energies we are experiencing, we selectively have thought after thought. Question is, which of the energies we are experiencing are giving rise to the thoughts we have? Is it random, or is there something that catches particular energies for our thoughts? As discussed in the topic, energy conversion to thoughts, our mind and its creative imagination acts as a resonant cavity to capture particular energies into thoughts. Here we want to look at the concept of energy signatures from the objects in our life that can give rise to thoughts. Energy signatures of what we experience. The importance of the energy signature is our body is a composite of components where each component has an energy signature. Each of the components of the body interact with each other and interact with the energy we experience internally and externally. Here we focus on the energy signatures of energy which has become localized in some material form. As with the notes played on any instrument, there is an energy signature for each of the components which come together to form the material object, with the energy signature of the material object being a composite of all the energy signatures of all the components. As was said, previously we can calculate the single de Broglie wavelength or frequency, but the wavelength and frequency does not address all of the energy frequencies that come together to create the object. To look at the energy signature for any material object, we need to go to the fundamental or most basic level. Fundamental components cannot be broken down any further. At first thought, it appears that we can start with the atom. However, atoms are not the most basic level. The most basic level is where the components consist of only one energy, one frequency. For example, pair production discussed in the topic energy conversion to thoughts, creating something out of nothing, pair production, particles, thoughts, and duality, results in the formation of an electron and a positron, each of a rest mass 0.511 MeV or million electron volts. The electron volt is a very small unit of energy. When the positron and electron is annihilated, two photons of 0.511 MeVs are produced, each with a frequency of 1.23 times 10 to the 20th power hertz, or 1.23 times 10 to the 20th power cycles per second. This frequency is the fundamental frequency for the electron, for there is no other frequency of radiation making the electron or positron. However, if we look at a hydrogen atom of one proton and an electron, it is not the most basic form. Neutrons and protons each are composed of more elementary particles. Both the neutron and proton are already a composite or a superposition of energies. Both are composed of four components, and each of the components in the neutron and proton are fundamental. The proton is composed of what is called two up quarks, a down quark, and a gluon. The neutron is composed of two down quarks and one up quark and a gluon. Consequently, a hydrogen atom, the simplest atom in the human body, contains 5 components, and each component is composed of a fundamental frequency. It can be said the hydrogen atom is like a small band of 5 individuals, an electron, 2 up quarks, a down quark, and a gluon. Since isotopes of a given element have one or more additional neutrons, each isotope of an element will have a different energy signature. What this means is several things. One is all atoms will have a unique energy signature, and any molecule made up of atoms will have a unique energy signature resulting from the superposition of all the atoms creating the molecule. The second thing is when we talk about the wave nature of a molecule or any object created from molecules will have an energy signature, that is, the wave nature will be the composite of waves of the various amplitudes and frequencies. There will be no monochromatic wave or a single frequency from a composite or object. This means, depending on how we have tuned our mind with our mindset, we can create a resonance cavity for a particular frequency that can be sensed in an energy signature emanating from a composite object. So what this means is any energy signature containing that particular frequency within the energy signature can be captured by our mind and converted to a thought. But the whole energy signature is converted to a thought and not just the energy that is captured by the resonance cavity. This is how we can tell the difference between two almost identical objects. We can see the subtle differences between the two objects. Hence, it is possible we may have tuned ourselves in such a way that we get bizarre thoughts from energies we have unknowingly tuned ourselves to capturing simply by how and what we think and believe. What needs to be understood, when we look at all the atoms in a given material very quickly, it can be seen the actual energy signature becomes very complicated. But we do not need to look at how all the different energy signatures of all the components overlay each other into a composite overall energy structure. As with the music analogy discussed earlier, the energy we hear when we hear a note of a symphony is a superposition of all the individual notes of all the individual instruments. Yet we can tell when the symphony plays a different note, or we hear the difference of the same note played in it by a different symphony. In the same way, we have the ability to differentiate the energy signatures of the most complex objects. At the human level, we are routinely dealing with energy signatures of complicated systems, but we can perceive very subtle changes in many of the energy signatures with which we sense and do not realize we do. One of the major realizations in the journey of exploration into our creativity is that the human mind is incapable of fully and accurately understanding how creation works. The best it can give is an approximation, and it usually does so through analogies and the proverbial, it looks like or operates like whatever. This energy signature we carry as a unique individual human being is beyond what most have understood about being a human being. Yet it shows itself repeatedly in the experiences of life that our human mind never envisioned for our lives. Since we each are incredibly unique, how we sense energy and how subjective our perception is, it is common to sense and perceive things others do not. The purpose of this discussion is to realize we sense very complex energy structures through their energy signature, but we have a very unique ability based on how we focus our attention and our awareness. We can pick up hearing a particular instrument out of something as large as a symphony. So too our ability to pick up certain energies out of the frequencies of energies we experience in the sea of energy in which we swim. In leaving this topic, several observations can be made. One is that our body has a very complex energy signature. We have the option of experiencing our body as a biological machine, or we can experience as an energy device routinely interacting with itself and its environment. That is, experience the body as an experience of energy. Our bodies, through its ability to sense every experience as a flow of energy, whether it be an internally felt or from the external world, we create a response to that energy. Sometimes we can point to one of our physical senses as to what we are sensing, but other times it's sort of a feeling or just an internal knowing. With the correct detector, that is, the focus of our attention and our awareness in the correct direction, we can access and become conscious of many energies our bodies do not appear to sense, but does. A second observation is, in many ways, we are like a fish swimming in a sea of energies. It is clear when our mind, through its creative imagination, selects an energy, it will characterize the energy we experience into thoughts. Whatever energy our mind selects to characterize, it characterizes the sum total of that energy in any given moment. That is, it senses the energy signature of what we select to characterize. Although only a part of or an aspect of the energy signature will be captured by the resonance cavity our mindset has created, nevertheless, our mind and its creative imagination will characterize the whole energy. It's like listening to a symphony. We will hear every single note of the symphony. We hear the composite energy. But depending on how we have focused our attention and awareness, we can pick out different individual instruments or groups of instruments if we listen carefully and focus on the instrument or instruments we want to hear. But nevertheless, we are hearing the whole symphony. Our mind does the same thing. Depending on how we focus our mind and the attention of our awareness, we experience different aspects of the sea of energy in which we swim. And looking at the elements involved in mind's characterization of the energy, each of the elements can be seen as having energy aspects. Mind converting the energy we sense into thoughts based upon what we think, believe, the experiences we have had in this and previous existences, our current environment, how we have focused our attention, awareness, and our underlying intention, which we hold with some passion, desire, or will to make happen. All of the aspects which we use to create thoughts have their own energy signature, which interact with what we experience. If we change any one aspect, we change what we perceive and what one experiences and the thoughts we have. What we think and believe and how we have focused what we think and believe creates a mindset. With that mindset, we will capture and experience the energy that has within its energy signature the element on which our mind is focused in that mindset. This is how prejudices work. We have a mindset, a way of believing as to what an individual of a particular race or nationality is like. When we meet someone from that race or nationality, the race or nationality automatically gets captured into a thought in the mind, but that thought in the mind pulls with it all that we think and believe about that race and nationality. As such, we never see the person who gave rise to the thought as to who and what they really are. Here we need to remember, whatever mindset we create, it is not fixed, but it can change if we choose to do so. If we recognize we are prejudiced, we can change it if we wish and choose to do so. How we choose to change is another question. The overall conclusion of this discussion is any collection of atoms and molecules will have an energy signature. With the proper focus, we can observe the overall collection or tune in to selected parts or aspect of the collection, which is about tuning in to a portion of the overall energy signature. This is further discussed in the discussion of the construction of the body as an energy vehicle and its energy signature.